Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. I am Joe Hamilton alongside my buddy Theo once again. Theo, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's Tuesday. We're good. Things are going good.
You've been stuck in the house all day knowing there's a big snowstorm up in Manitoba?
No, man, we got school, man. Schools were wide open. Unless you were outside Winnipeg, schools were open. It was a wonderful review and return of January weather here on April 13th. So I didn't mind it. It was good. Yes.
Hey, I'll take. If you can't, do you like cold weather?
You know what? I don't mind it. I mean, if it's not minus 30, I'm good. You know, go out there, enjoy the weather. I mean, it's part of life, man. You gotta just I like seasons. You know, I don't like having the same season 12 months of the year. Although, don't get me wrong, I don't mind sitting on a beach 12 months of the year, but I would miss my hockey. The bottom line is, yeah, I don't mind the cold.
Peyton, if you're wondering where Wags is, well, he's enjoying our St. Louis Cardinals whipping on the Washington Nationals. I'll talk about that in a second segment, but yeah, it's been a good game as far as the Cardinals are concerned. And yeah, you have your buddy Corey chiming in. He goes, "It's Taco Tuesday." You like Mexican?
Dude, from California, man, you gotta love tacos. I mean, forget about it. It's Lincoln and a Cadillac put together, man. It's I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's the new way of eating burgers. That and the new four-way fold sandwich. I don't know if you've seen those videos on TikTok where you take a quesadilla and you put it in 4 different quadrants. You put an ingredient in each quadrant and you cut it in one piece and you fold it. It becomes like a quesadilla sandwich, grilled quesadilla sandwich. That's the new thing to do. I might do a cooking show on it. We might have it on the ice. We'll see what happens. Might get fired for it, but nonetheless, it's very good food to have because it's a pocket of goodness in your hand. It's almost like a taco.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
I know Corey and I would probably have a little carne asada right now, a little pollo on the barbecue, a couple of orders of guac, some fresh peppers. I know he and I would have a couple of cervezas, por favor, on the back deck. I just got to wait for that invite to the pool. Right, Corey? There you go. See if he chimes in on that one.
So, yeah, I'm excited that, we're finally getting some warm weather here in St. Louis. It's going to be a little chilly tomorrow. Going to be in the 50s, but you guys are used. 50s are like summer weather to you guys. So
I mean, if you caught the Twins game today, there was snow during Target Field, and that's like they're getting a little bit of it. We're getting a whole chunk of it today, and it is quite interesting to see that in the middle of April now.
It is quite nice, actually. It's nice that you know what's going to happen in April in Minnesota. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. You just got to deal with it. But we'll talk baseball in our next segment. First of all, I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the moves made yesterday in the NHL and the day before. There was a trade that was made late night regarding Taylor Hall, and the only place he was going to go was Boston. I mean, that was basically a standoff between him and the Buffalo Sabres organization. Talk about that first, and we'll go down the list, and I'll let you take the floor.
So, first of all, Taylor Hall, Buffalo Sabres wanted a first-round draft pick. They wanted to get something of equivalent because Taylor Hall was a top 1 draft pick back in the day. Has a Art Ross trophy in his belt, good scorer, just hasn't had a great couple of seasons as of late, going to Arizona, going to New Jersey, going to Buffalo. Here's a player that has been on 4 different teams within the last 2 full seasons and hasn't amounted to much. Now, he comes out and says that he's been the guy that says, okay, I haven't had a great set of seasons, haven't put up the points, but I'm looking forward to a fresh start. Well, he's done that in 3 other cities. Why hasn't it worked before? So Buffalo gets this, wonderful second-round draft pick from Boston. Now, Boston will finish probably in the top 10 of teams, which means that will probably be a 50s pick, which means there's 45 other players that are going to be picked before they get some sort of, collateral for Taylor Hall. Now, I don't know what the retention of the salary was. I'm assuming it was 50% because there's no way Boston can afford a full Taylor Hall salary. So Taylor's got a new home, got a New Jersey. We'll see what happens in the coming short times with Boston and the playoffs.
What are some of the other moves that I'll talk about a move later, but I want your thoughts on a few other moves that took place yesterday.
Okay, well, first off, I'll start with Toronto because I think Toronto made a big splash, not only with getting Riddick from Calgary. Now they have 3 goaltenders, Jack Campbell, Freddie Anderson, and Riddick from Calgary. So they have 3 goaltenders in the mix.
Anderson's hurt, right?
He is hurt now, but whether or not they keep him on the DL or the IR, however you want to call it, come playoffs remains to be seen. Jack Campbell has been absolutely lights out in the last 11 games with Toronto. I mean, he lost his first game yesterday, but he had 10 straight to start off, and they've pulled away in that Northern Division. I think they're 6 points up on everybody. So Jack Campbell, they've taken the Jack Campbell wave, and they've run that thing through its course. And he's proven to be that number 1 goaltender right now for Toronto. Now, they lost to Montreal last night. They are in overtime with Calgary tonight. You know, a lot of ebbs and flows with that team. Not only do that, though, but they also had Foligno from Columbus. I didn't think Columbus was going to be that much of a fire sale, but they got rid of a lot of different players in the Blue Jackets territory. And getting Foligno, for a draft pick into Toronto adds several different levels and layers of forward, qualities that they're looking for. First and foremost, he's got playoff grit. Secondly, he is that two-way player that provides stability in your bottom 6 forwards. And he has that leadership in the locker room. Not that you need any more leaderships. I mean, you've got John Tavares, you've got, Austin Matthews, you've got Jumbo Joe Thornton, you've got Morgan Riley. And now you're adding Foligno, who is a captain of all people from Columbus. So he says it's, his heart was calling him to Toronto. I think his heart was just happy the fact that he's no longer in Columbus and he has a chance to go win a cup. This is going to be Toronto's best year potentially to try and win a Stanley Cup in a very long time, probably since '93, when you had the likes of Matt Sundin, Doug Gilmour, and the old Dave Andrewchuk and all those crew back in the day when they lost to Gretzky in the semis. So it could be an opportunity there. I really liked what New York did with their trade for Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac because they've lost Anders Lee for the season. They're adding 2 quality veterans that can score, two-way game, solid play in front of their own net in the corners, and they are going to fulfill a little more than what Anders Lee was going to provide just being one body, and they get 2. And I'm pretty sure those 2 players, in Palmieri and Zajac, will quickly buy into Barry Trotz's game scheme. Blue collar, lunch pail, bring your hard hat to work kind of guys those 2 are. I think I'm going to be worried about New York moving into playoffs. Everybody on the East Coast really loaded up, including someone from not the East Coast, the Florida Panthers. So, I mean, Florida had to find some defense because they had to find a replacement for Aaron Ekblad, who is going to be gone for the season as well. So a lot of these teams use this trade deadline for this opportunity to fill up some holes that had recently come about in the last 10 to 12 days for these teams. Now, for my Winnipeg Jets, they already made their big splash. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois. They got rid of Patrick Crybaby, sorry. And they've, Pierre-Luc Dubois is he's not offensively crunching numbers, but he's playing a good two-way game. Mm-hmm. He's a solid big body, and we're seeing the diversity in those top 6 forwards now with Blake Wheeler not in action right now because he's dealing with a concussion. But, PLD is going to, he's going to find his game. I think he's still finding it, but we need him to find it soon because playoffs are right around the corner. The Jets are sitting in second, 1 point above Edmonton. I was kind of surprised Edmonton didn't do much more damage. I don't think they did enough at the deadline. So,
but could they do anything? Couldn't they do a lot at the deadline with their cap situation?
Absolutely. I mean, you can always move something. The thing is, you got to massage the numbers. If you want, when there is a need to win and there's a will to win, there always will be a way. I think they could have done. I mean, I think they picked up Dmitry Kulikov at the deadline, who's another defenseman, an old Winnipeg product. They've got loads of goal scoring. I'm not worried about the goal scoring. I'm worried about their defense. I'm worried about their goaltending. That's been their Achilles heel this season. Really the North Division has 3 teams in Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton that are at the top. Montreal's in 4th spot, but there's still a big drop between Montreal and Calgary. So Vancouver's the big enigma because they haven't played since beginning of April, and I think they're allowed to start practicing later this week. So that's the big plus for them.
A couple things. You talk about the Taylor Hall trade first, and you saw a trade between the Capitals and I forget who else. You had the trade for
Anthony Mantha was the trade.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was the dumbest.
You think so?
I think. Yeah. Here's why. You're giving up. What's his name?
Jacob Vrana.
Richard Panik and Jacob Vrana. That's an awfully big haul for Anthony Mantha, who has his flaws, but we hear about the player that Taylor Hall is all the time, but yet he gets Buffalo gets what they get. How do you explain that?
First off, I mean, I don't want to say upside is Anthony Mantha. The baggage that Taylor Hall has. I mean, I do agree Washington probably overpaid a little bit because you also have to include 2 draft picks in there as well in the upcoming 2 years. I mean, Anthony Mantha scored today. Ovi scored today. They won 6-1, I think, today. Sometimes you make trades like that because you need to shake up a locker room. Sometimes you make trades like that because you see a potential in a younger player.
This is an overpayment. I'm
going to agree with you on that, Joe, because, I think Anthony Mantha could have been gone for maybe 1 less draft pick, maybe a 1-1 instead of a 2-2. I agree. It's one of those things that, we could see. In the present time, I think Washington is still okay because they have a load of talent and they're giving up 2 veteran guys, but maybe there's guys in the organization that are ready to step in that we don't know yet.
Yeah, they're giving up 2. I mean, I just think giving up Jacob Vrana is a big mistake if you're Washington. And it almost seems like they're going for it now, and it makes sense, I guess. But, you got an old team. You have Backstrom, Ovechkin, Oshie. I mean, that core is getting older by the day. So I don't know why you trade a guy like Vrana. But Anthony Mantha, I mean, has he really lived up to his potential in Detroit to this point?
But what type of a potential are you expecting in Detroit? I mean, outside of Dylan Larkin. I mean, Dylan Larkin is the star. He's like the Jack Eichel you're not going to trade. So he's untouchable. So who's your next? And Anthony Mantha was one of them. I mean, he has a grit. He can score goals. He has a nose to the net. He has phenomenal hands. The guy can, put the puck in a lot of good places. Does he play a great 2-way game? I mean, he's young. So I don't know if that's something Washington took into account because you're losing 2 players that haven't achieved what they should do this year. But come playoff time, we don't know what to expect. Anthony Mantha hasn't been in the playoffs. So that's something we also have to consider. I mean, if the Capitals expect to go a long way, sure, they got age. They got, a little bit of youth. But did they get the qualities of a veteran? I don't know.
Did they get the qualities of a veteran? That makes a lot of sense, but I still think that's a little bit of an overpayment when you had guys, the main guy in Taylor Hall, going for what he did. That just made no sense to me. But then again, it's Buffalo that accepted that trade because they basically had to. So we're going to take a quick break, come back, talk a little Major League Baseball, get Theo's thoughts on, the first overall week in baseball. What his Blue Jays are up to because they're struggling a little bit. I guess it's because of pitching, but we'll talk about that right after this on Crunch Time. Welcome back to Crunch Time here on ASTV Productions. Joe Hamilton alongside Theo. Theo, I first of all want to get your thoughts on what you've seen this baseball season so far. I know you've not been able to watch every game, you're so busy, but you have been able to watch a few teams, watch your division in the AL East. What have you seen this far into the baseball season? I'll go ahead and get your thoughts on Toronto in a little bit, but just your overall thoughts.
Overall, I think it's been, I think we've seen the first common theme we've seen is pitchers going on the disabled list or the injured reserve. A lot of pitchers are realizing that they aren't as seasoned or conditioned for a regular season that's going to be this long. It's unfortunate to see some of those injuries, but again, we see that all the time where they go on 4-day, 10-day breaks to kind of get their arm back into the swing of things, literally. That's number one. Number two, not any real big surprises outside of seeing Atlanta go 0-6 for the first 6 games. I kind of expected them to have a better start, but I mean, the teams that we expect to play well are playing well. The AL East is very close. I think there's a game and a half splitting first place and last place. So it's still early in that scenario. I'm not too impressed with what San Diego's doing. Los Angeles, the same thing with all the money they've spent. It's just, it's too early to really put massive, red flags up and exclamation marks saying, wait a second, what's going on in Major League Baseball? We haven't seen a massive juicing of baseballs. There's no massive home runs being tilted. I mean, my boy Mike Trout is still crushing it. Ohtani's doing the same thing. I'm notching this as a beginning to a baseball season that is having to not replace a 60-game season, but coming on the quick heels of a 60-game season. So players are being conditioned differently. They have to read and react to the situation differently. And organizations are going to have to put a little extra time in making sure players can last a full season, hopefully. That's my take for the first week and a half.
You talk about LA. What do you mean, the Angels or the Dodgers?
Dodgers. The Dodgers are, they lost opening night. Their bats are kind of suspect right now. They're not truly awake. I think they have one batter hitting in 300s. The rest are not there at all. So, I know they're gonna arise to the top because they've got more games to play. Nobody's really stepping out and having that unreal start to the season. Can you name a team that's having an unreal start to the season?
Not really, but the one team that I'm surprised about with their start is your favorite team, the Angels, man. The Angels look pretty good for the lack of pitching that they have.
And it starts with, their new bench boss. I really feel that, when you start baseball is not a weird game. It's America's pastime. It's a very long season. It's not a hare race. It's more of a tortoise race. So you've got to get through the season with limited injury, with gradual progression, with, a common thread throughout the season. Okay, we win in May, we win in April, but we win in September, so we get to October. There has to be not a buy-in, but there just has to be that love of the game that needs to return. Players need to return to this game like they love it. And I haven't heard that storyline yet. They're all happy to be playing, but obviously they would rather be playing like everybody in Texas with full stadiums, 40,000 fans, and lots of cheers and whatnot. We want to see that. We all want to see that in their own home ballparks, including Toronto, but we'll leave that alone. We need to find that love for this game again, because I still feel like there's a lot of distraction and a lot of non-camaraderie between owners, players, and the fans.
I agree. And I can't wait until we get to, at least in the States, you're going to have capacity limits go down. So that'll hopefully do the players some good. Theo, let's go to Toronto now. I mean, they were struggling a little bit. They're finally beating the Yankees tonight. They've just not really come out of the gate strong. Is that because of their injuries to Robbie Ray and George Springer, or is there something else to it? What is wrong in Blue Jay land right now?
I don't know what to say what's wrong with Blue Jay land. I mean, they did beat the Yankees at home, Florida, 7-1, 7-2 today.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, you're not looking for an explosion right out of the gate with Toronto.
Right.
I mean, Springer's injured. You know, they've paid this gentleman a lot of money to be the meat and potatoes of that batting order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's supposed to be solid in the field. We just haven't seen him wear a jersey yet. The young guys are, you know, respectively hitting 2 home runs apiece. I mean, Bichette, Biggio, and Vlad Jr. Simeon at second base is leading the team in 4 dingers. Hernandez is doing his bit. I mean, playing first. So the team is still very young in the infield, very powerful on the bats. You know, in the short time, we have seen some good things. But like you said, it's rare to see a pitcher go more than 6 or 7 innings right now. I don't know if that's because teams are managing their pitch count or managing to gradually get all 12 pitchers on the mound. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think the paradigm of a starting pitcher is evolving to something different.
It is.
You have 2 or 3 pitchers getting you through 8 innings, and then if you're leading by 2 or 3, then you throw your closer in or a closer in. I'm not seeing those. I mean, it's rare that San Diego had a complete game last week. Rare to see that because even I forget his name, but the pitcher himself was like, hey, I thought I was coming out after 7, but then I realized I've only thrown 67 pitches after 6, which is incredible because when you consider how many pitches are usually thrown per inning, that's a very low count. So he was looking to go 7. He went into 8, and his pitch count at the after 9 wasn't drastically like 130 pitches like a Maddox or a Glenn or a Glavine would do. I mean, these guys are, you know, they're sticking with their pitches for low hundreds.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you bring that up because as a Cardinal fan, I was watching tonight. Jack Flaherty had 41 pitches in 2 innings. I mean, that's 41 to 43 pitches in 2 innings. And you're not going to go – we're lucky if you went 5 in St. Louis, but, you know, I think it's because of the conditioning that pitchers do now, and I think pitchers play with batters a little bit more. You don't see the 3 to 4 pitch strikeout or 3 to 4 pitch ground ball. You're seeing guys work counts to 3-1, 3-2. And that doesn't make for a quick night in my mind. I don't know what you think.
Now, are they getting the 3-2 counts because batters are waiting?
Yeah, well,
or is it because pitchers are trying to shape balls more instead of just trying to entice the ground ball?
Could it be both?
I mean, if I was a pitcher, I'd want to get out of there as fast as humanly possible. I don't really care. Let's be honest. I mean, if my ERA at the end of the day is how many earned runs are there per 9 innings, whether they come as strikeouts or whether they come as ground balls, I don't care. I want to get the guys out. So if I can get 3 pitchers, if I get 3 batters out with 3 pitches, great. Now, that's not going to happen every inning, but I don't want to be throwing 25 pitches per inning because Lord knows Skipper's going to be pulling me after 5 because I'm already at a pitch count of over 100. And that's not going to be good for my ball club. You know, if you're a ball club that's looking at 4 to 5 starters, you guys got to think about one major thing. I'm a starter for one reason, because I need to give my middle relievers the time they need to rest or the time that I need to make sure I'm in a rotation. So that concept is, I think, evolving into something different. Having that said, pitchers especially are conditioned differently than they were 20 years ago. Pitchers need to get rest. Pitchers need to take care of the elbow. They need to take care of the shoulder. Absolutely. Because that is $1 million arm. And it's only $1 million arm for so long.
It really is. You got a good point there. So the Cardinals are all over the Washington Nationals right now, and it's amazing because you had one of the best starters in baseball in Steven Strasburg out on the mound, and the Cardinals are just wailing on him. You had both Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado hit home runs tonight, and it's about time. It's about time both those guys get going, because when that happens, this lineup is going to lengthen out. Matt Carpenter. This is a guy that, needed something to go well for him. If you remember back in 2013, he was hitting balls all over the place. He wasn't necessarily a home run hitter. He'd give you 10 a year, but he'd hit you 310 with like 40 doubles. If Matt Carpenter can find any inkling of that, this team's scary. This team's even more scary than it was offensively. The question I have, and I talked a little bit about it tonight with Jack Flaherty, can you get your pitchers through 5 innings? The only one I really trust with that right now is Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright, the elder statesman of this team, giving you 5, 6, and 7 innings, hadn't done it yet. I mean, it takes a little bit to get your arm in shape. I get it. But, wow, some of these guys can't even tell they're starting pitchers. They fool with hitters so much, it's like, I'm not going to swing. It's not going to throw me a strike. That's what I've been seeing with some of these guys. The best start I've seen so far is a start from Carlos Martinez. Carlos Martinez gave up 3 runs, and through the first 3 innings, he looked brilliant. But that 4th inning, it seemed like he self-destructed a little bit, but then got it back. You need guys like that to perform. You need Jack Flaherty to go longer. If he's considered your ace of your staff, you need him going 6, 7 innings a night. I know that's tough in this day and age of baseball because you got, and I'm going to quote this, bullpenning, but bullpenning doesn't work all the time. It's not going to get you through a season because that bullpen, if you use it the wrong way, like Mike Matheny did when he was here, if you use it the wrong way, it's going to be tired out by the All-Star break, and you don't want that to happen. So, I don't know. It's saddening to me because I like old school baseball where starters went most of the game. I understand they're not going to be Bob Gibson out there throwing 255 complete games. I get that. But come on, guys, give your bullpen some length. That way they're not so tired all the time. You know what I mean? It's just annoying to me.
And that, like I said, that's the evolution of what a bullpen is, where you have players and you have pitchers that are going through this change of only going on pitch counts, only going on innings pitched. I mean, Toronto last year in the playoffs, their first game against Tampa, they pulled their pitcher out in the middle of the 4th inning because Montoya wanted to watch a pitch count. Meanwhile, the game in Tampa was 0-0. And as soon as they pulled their first pitcher out, their starting pitcher, that's when Tampa won the first game 6-1, and Toronto didn't have a chance in the second. And you look back at that, and you talk about bullpenning and strategy and analytics, throw those all out of the window. And part of me still wants to see the starting pitcher, sure. But, I mean, you talk about tiring out a bullpen. It's hard to tire out a bullpen if 10 of those 12 guys were originally starting pitchers. They could originally throw 80 to 90 pitches in college or in AA or AAA ball. I mean, they're conditioned that way. So, like you said, St. Louis has thrown almost 800 pitches in their first 10 games. Well, is that too much? It's the leading the majors, sure, but if you have a bullpen that's fostering that type of attitude, why not? There's nothing wrong with it if I don't think you're going to tire out a bullpen. I think if you go into the beginning of your mindset saying we're going to throw this way, I'm pretty sure you could condition 12 pitchers to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. But before we go to break here, let me just break down the scoreboard here. You have the Oakland Athletics and Arizona Diamondbacks. The Athletics win this one 7-5. They were losing 5-0 in this one, and I like the comeback story. That's for sure. The Philadelphia Phillies and New York Mets played 2 today. The first game ended 4-3. That was of course, game 1 of a 7-inning doubleheader. Seattle and Baltimore. Baltimore edges out Seattle by a final of 7-6. Tampa Bay and Texas. Texas routs Tampa Bay 8-3. You have the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins. That game was won by the Boston Red Sox 4-2. You had the Seattle Mariners and you had the Mariners and Orioles in game 2 of that doubleheader. Seattle beat the Mariners 4-3. You have the San Diego Padres and Pittsburgh Pirates playing now, and Pittsburgh is leading San Diego 74. There has to be something there, man, because San Diego's not been the right team. Hasn't been right. So a couple more scores here. The New York Yankees and Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays win 7-3. Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves. This is shocking to me because we both thought Atlanta would be good. Miami is beating Atlanta 14-6. So there's your MLB scoreboard. Theo, tell everyone what we got coming up here on Crunch Time.
Up next, we're either going to go back to, of course, our favorite topic, the NFL. And I want to know why your boy, Aaron Rodgers, isn't helping out his Packers with some salary negotiations.
All right. Enjoy that conversation up next.
Hey Crunch Time fans, my name is Graham Forsyth. I'm the host of Coffee with Graham and the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. On Coffee with Graham, I talk to athletes, coaches, and whoever else involved in the amateur sports scene in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And on the Prospect Show, I talk to the best young hockey prospects from around North America. You can catch all the coverage on ASTV Productions. You can catch Coffee with Graham on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. And for the Prospect Show, that show airs every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Hope to see you there. Have a good one.
And, of course, you can watch every show on ASTV Productions. They're all good, including the one Theo hosts. I think you'll be hearing from him a little bit later in our next break. But let's go to the NFL. And I wanted to get this conversation going first. I know it's not it is a current conversation because Julian Edelman has just announced his retirement from the NFL after being released from the New England Patriots. And Wags and I were having this discussion yesterday. I don't know if you saw the show last night, Theo, but is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer?
No.
Why? Okay, he has 6,800 yards, right?
Okay, and I've heard the banter all day about why Julian Edelman is Julian Edelman. And probably the best definition I could have heard was Julian Edelman was a good player on a great team. Julian Edelman was a great performer in Super Bowls and postseasons. I mean, he's second in receptions, second in touchdowns, I believe that was. Those are the two stats in postseason.
Yeah.
3-time Super Bowl winner, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. I think those are trophies big enough for him to hang his hat on right now. We don't need to talk about Hall of Fame now because it's not going to happen for another 5 years. So let's give it a break.
No, I get that.
Furthermore, I look at his stats over, and you have to look at the body of work that he has done. And I'm going to throw out another slot receiver for the New England Patriots, who did not get the fame, did not get the Super Bowls, and that's one Wes Welker. And Wes Welker was given not a raw deal or a handshake, but he just had injuries come into his career a lot sooner. And Julian Edelman was allowed to stay healthier. Now, was Julian Edelman expected to be anything that he was? Absolutely not. I mean, he was a high school quarterback or a college quarterback. He was a punt returner, a cornerback, I think a jockstrap cleaner, and then he became a slot receiver. So he did amazing things with his career. Don't get me wrong. But I can think of two other players that are not in the Hall of Fame, Heinz Ward, Shannon Sharp, who have better numbers career-wise, not better numbers postseason-wise. But in terms of careers and lack of Super Bowls, Heinz Ward has just as many Super Bowls, I think, as Julian Edelman. He might have 2 versus 3. Nonetheless, Heinz Ward was also a quarterback coming out of high school and college for the Dogs. He was a wide receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I could probably name 2 or 3 other players, but not right now. But in terms of a body of work, let's let him enjoy these seasons of being a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, and a huge advocate of diversity and, you know, being able to respect your own religions and your own beliefs in the NFL. Let's let him have his time as being a Super Bowl champion first.
Well, I say that, Theo. I know it would be right away, but he's right up there with you know, Jerry Rice had better numbers, everything. But you know what?
Don't even put them in the same conversation.
Okay. But thing is, he's won championships. He didn't make it. He didn't go to any Pro Bowls. I don't understand this. How do you have 6,800 career yards, right, and not make one Pro Bowl?
12 seasons. Never been a 1,000-yard receiver. Do the math. 6,800 divided by 12 is less than 700 yards, 600 yards a season.
Okay, yeah.
Between 600 or 700 yards a season. As a slot receiver, okay. Rob Gronkowski has more yards as a tight end. That just goes to show you, like I said, how the dynamic of a New England Patriot offense loved having a Welker and an Edelman in a slot as your 3rd and 4th short guy. But you never saw him catch a 34, 40-yard ball down the field.
Yeah, you never did. But I heard a comparison today, and this makes a lot of sense. Julian Edelman was a little bit more talented Danny Amendola. Do you see that comparison? Kind of. In terms of
other
style
than playing
of
the
play.
same position. I mean,
no. Other than style of play, think about it.
So are you asking me that Edelman is more like Amendola, or Edelman's more like Welker?
Edelman's more like Amendola in terms of, you know, style of play and how they go about their business.
I mean, Edelman, they have the same style. I mean, I just find Welker more elusive. I found Welker was more the dash guy. Welker is more like I'm trying to figure out who the guy that plays in Beasley. Like Beasley's more that slash and dash guy, whereas Amendola and Edelman had a little more stock to them. They were able to do things a little differently.
Okay.
That's the way I would put it.
Okay. That's a good way to put it. Now, you wanted to ask me about my Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead.
Okay, so first off, I mean, who's pulling whose wool over their eyes here? I mean, here's your boy, number 12, that's come out and said, I don't control anything that's going on here. Meanwhile, I think he controls 100% of everything that goes on because he's getting paid no matter what. Secondly, are we making too – so that's part A question. Part B question, are they making too much out of Jordan Love and the fact that they drafted this? They're still talking about drafting a quarterback last year. I mean, this is Aaron Rodgers' team as far as I'm concerned until he says I'm done. Now, is he telling the Packers, you're going to pay me outright, I don't want to get an extension, and I'm going to do what I want after this contract is over? Is he going to take Devontae Adams with him? And if he does, great. Terrible for Green Bay. But so all of that thrown in there, what is Green Bay going to do with a first-round draft pick? Right now, you've got both McShay and Kuiper saying they're going to grab Bateman from Minnesota as a wide receiver. They haven't done anything like that since 2006. Well,
here's the thing. Trends need to change if you're Green Bay. I mean, you have some promising pieces there. I mean, if Valdez-Scantling can learn how to catch a ball and they throw to St. Brown a little bit more, you might have something. But what do you think of a guy in Lazard? Lazard, do you think he can live up to anything?
I would have, I mean, to be totally honest with you, I'm still, questioning Jordan Love. I'm questioning why they didn't sign Jordy Nelson again. Why didn't you keep Jordy Nelson and was Lazard that much of a better pick than keeping Jordy around?
If you've noticed, though, After Jordy Nelson left, what did he do in Oakland? Absolutely
but
nothing.
that goes with the chemistry and the talent you're surrounded by.
And
Oakland's offense is completely different than Green Bay's offense.
And he was injured, though.
So he's getting moved because he was injured?
No, but I think Green Bay saw something. They saw, you know what, this guy...
They saw a guy that was going to retire in 2 years anyway?
I don't know. I seem to think they know more than I do. So that's all I'm going to... that's all I'm going to say. And I don't see Green Bay as being a bad organization in terms of, letting guys go. But you need to do something because you brought back Aaron Jones. I don't know where they're getting this money, to be honest with you. You bring back Aaron Jones. You still have Aaron Rodgers making astronomical amounts of money. You have Devontae Adams making big money. What is Adams making? Like, in the ballpark? I'm not saying
he's not the top 5 paid wide receiver.
Is he close? Is he like 15 million, something like that?
I have no idea. You're the Green Bay Packer fan.
Okay.
I'm the LA Chargers fan.
Let me look that up real quick.
You look that up. I'm going to say one thing, and I'm going to say my piece about the Green Bay Packers because I have a bit of a affinity to them because they're my dad's favorite team back in the day. But they seem like the Green Bay I'm going to haul cheese with a rented mule Packer because they basically take their players and use them up and then ship them off for the highest price or don't sign them back. Case in point, Jordy Nelson. Case in point, I'm not going to say Brett Favre, but, I mean, people are going to say that his time was coming regardless. I just look at what Green Bay is doing, and they're just not giving their boy the talent around him. Furthermore, they're not going to give the talent around him because I don't know if they want to. I don't know if they need to. But throw a dog a bone. Like, you haven't drafted him any offensive help in over 12 years.
All right, so here's his salary breakdown. When he was a rookie in 2017, making $956,000, whatever, okay, with a $3 million bonus, okay. So fast forward to 2018, he's making $1 million with a $3.6 million bonus and a roster bonus of $5 million, okay. If I can pull this up, and then 2019, you had $2.75 million base salary with a bonus of $3.6 million and a roster bonus of $3.8 million. Then you have a $12 million player in 2020, making a $437,500 roster bonus. You have a $12 million over $12.2 million player in 2021. He's a free agent after the 2022 season, or after 2021.
As is Aaron Rodgers.
So, yeah. So I think they're gonna leave Green Bay. That would be the easy. That'd be the easiest way to say things, but they need to be ready. You think Jordan Love could be a good NFL quarterback? Yes or no? You've seen him play. You watch college football before he was drafted.
When you draft potential, I always look at the competition they're playing against. Jordan Love, did he play against the Big Ten? Did he play against the SEC? Did he play against the ACC? No. You look at the quarterback crop this year. Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Wilson, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. I mean, like, you look at these names and it's like I go back, and I could go back to, tricky Mitchie Trubisky, for North Carolina. I mean, like, here's a guy that had all the upside, all of the talents, everything, just complete forget about it. Drew Lock, same thing in Denver. I mean, all of these, Sam Darnold. I mean, all of these guys, you're drafting them based on potential. And I'm telling you, like, if you're one of those guys that's looking for a top 10 quarterback pick, and there's somebody out there that's been proven 2 or 3 years in the league, why wouldn't you go get the proven player that's going to give you 5 or 6 good years? Do you really think? I mean, I look at this draft board, this mock draft board. We're going to see it in a couple of weeks' time. But I mean, you're looking at 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4 picks and potentially 6 in the top 10. Or you're seeing, teams moving up, trying to get these picks. And I'm asking myself, is it really worth it? I mean, Kyle Pitts is going to be a tremendous tight end wide receiver out of Florida. Sure.
Comparison of the one big comparison with him, I hate to jump on you here, Steve Smith.
Yeah. He's bigger than Steve Smith. Steve Smith was a little guy.
No, I mean, I'm talking like style of wide receiver, though. Physical.
Flash and dash. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he's more like Steve Smith, but also like an old school. I don't want to say Jerry Rice, but it's not Jerry because it's his buddy Taylor, 82. A little bit more size, a little more grit, more like a older Chargers Winslow. Not the young Kellen, but the old his dad. More like that.
Wow.
He's got that speed. He's got the hands. He's got the ability to run routes. He's not bulky like a Hunter Henry. He's got that prototypical 6'3", 6. I think he's 6'3", 210 or 218 right now. So he's a solid body. You're not going to see a talent like that. I mean, think of Ron Gronkowski, but 30 pounds lighter.
Okay. All right. So anything else before we go to break here?
For football?
Yeah.
No, I'm just looking. I mean, I really wish I could see Teddy Bridgewater find a team before the draft. I'm also kind of thinking
get Sam Darnold out of New York.
He's already gone. He's gone.
That's good. But hey, since that happened, do you think he can become that player he's supposed to be outside of New York?
I mean, you've got that insurance cushion right there.
I mean, yeah, players going to the Jets, their career's dead automatically. So JETS boo boo boo. But you get my point.
Yeah, I mean, like Sanchez was there. Matt Leinart wasn't there, but both of those guys are old USC guys. As much as USC quarterbacks are great college quarterbacks, they've never amounted to anything good in the NFL.
Yeah, so we'll have to see as we get closer to the draft what actually does happen. So when we come back, we'll be talking a little NBA because there was a big-time news story that came down today. So look for that coming up next here on Crunch Time.
Hi, I'm JD Houghton, host of the SAS Sports Show. Catch it every Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for all things Saskatchewan sports.
You thought I was going to go there, didn't you?
That's okay.
Hey,
I'm glad you didn't. Or else you'd have to move fast. You might break a torn ACL.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, man. That Jamal Murray torn ACL. Man, you're seeing this injury in sports more and more. Why?
Well, okay, so the ACL is meant to help. So a little bit of biology, human anatomy, Theo here, chiropractor Theo showing up. The ACL's number one job is to stop the knee from moving forward on top of the femur. And secondly, it's meant to help with direction change, quick direction change. Last time I checked, professional players in any of the major 4 sports aren't getting smaller, they're getting bigger. Mm-hmm. So the demand on the body is becoming bigger. The amount of pressure and strength that is required to do these certain agilities is evolving and getting larger. So that is why we are seeing players. I wouldn't normally see this injury halfway through a season. You usually see it at the beginning of a season. But for Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets, truly a blow to their remainder of the regular season and potentially their playoff championship run.
It really is. Now let's talk about another team that hopes to make a run, but is missing a big piece in LeBron James. Okay. And that's the Los Angeles Lakers. Can this team right now, they're sitting, I think, 3 games from 8th place. I think 2 or 3 games from 8th place. So can that team make a run without LeBron James? And when LeBron James gets back around playoff time, make a run toward another title?
Well, don't forget Anthony Davis either. I mean, AD's been out a lot longer. LBJ's out now. both of those star players, that 1-2 attack is gone. This is truly testing the bench or lack thereof of the Lakers, which we've seen.
It's funny. Didn't they have this almost the same bench last year? I was talking about this with a buddy earlier. Like, this was basically the same cast of characters they had last year. And the fact that they're struggling makes me wonder, was that a fluke?
Well, I think what happened was you also have to look at the fact that they took a long break. Then they came back into a bubble. They played a 9-game bubble and then playoffs. Whereas this is different now where they're playing almost a full season, then going into playoffs. So, again, a different conditioning aspect. And those high ankle sprains for both AD and LBJ are one of those question mark injuries because you don't know what the timetable is for their return. I think, when you consider the fact that you have this play-in where you have a 7, 8, and a 9, 10 playing, Los Angeles could be in problem land having to play 2 games before they even get into the playoffs. How LeBron and how Anthony Davis should return remains to be seen. Conditioning-wise, I don't know. I mean, Kevin Durant had a high ankle sprain. Look how he returned. He hasn't played many games this year either. That Achilles high ankle sprain is deadly. It is not a fun injury to have.
Especially when you're running up and down the court, which makes sense. So,
and you're 36 years old.
Mm-hmm. So I hope they can, but I get the feeling that LeBron retires after this year anyway.
I don't know if not this year. He's got a couple more in him.
Okay. You think so?
Yeah.
What are some of the other things, the other storylines you're seeing in the NBA playing out now? The Toronto I got to go there because Toronto, what the hell happened to this team, man? I mean, you lose Kawhi Leonard, and it just seems like you've taken a downward spiral ever since.
I mean, you lose Kawhi, you trade Norman Powell, you lose one of your coaching staff in the middle of the season, basically on a road trip, because he gets hired I think he got hired in Minnesota, one of their assistant coaches, and he got hired that weekend when they were playing Minnesota. What happened with Toronto, I think it was just the fact that every other team in the East is getting better. You could say the same thing about the Boston Celtics. I mean, Boston has really good pieces in Tatum and Kemba Walker, but we now know that 2 players isn't enough. Yeah. It's got to be 2, maybe 3 players. It's got to be 2 players and a bench. It's got to be healthy players. I mean, I still haven't seen, all 5 superstars on the Brooklyn Nets play on the same teams, play on the same starting 5. I mean, Kyrie's out with personal injuries. James is out with Harden's out with an injury. KD is out with another injury. Blake Griffin is showing up, and I forget the last one. Is it Andre Drummond or someone else that's in there now too? No, what's his face from San Antonio? They're loaded. All superstars in their own right mind, but they haven't played on the same court yet since game 1. So that remains to be seen. The other thing is, it's funny, you look at all the NBA players that have been considered for the NBA most valuable player. All of them have been injured this year. From Luka to LeBron to Joel to James to KD to Steph. They've all been injured this year. So really it's up for grabs. I mean, Giannis could win it, be one of the first 3-time winners in a very long time. He's still doing pretty well. Milwaukee's in the middle of the mix in the East. But I tell you, I think powers might be changing for the East side versus the West. We might see an East Coast team pull it out and beat the Lakers or beat whoever's coming out of the West side. I don't even think the Lakers are going to be there, to be honest with you.
That's another question, because who is that team that's going to take down the Lakers?
Utah Jazz.
That's funny because I talked to a buddy lately, and he goes, "Don't say Utah. Why do you say Utah? They can't score, man. They have
defense wins championships.
Defense wins championships. Well, you got to score too.
If you can hold LeBron under 95 a game, I think you're doing pretty good.
Hey, the key word
hasn't been done in a long time.
Key word there, though. You said LeBron, not the Lakers.
Well, I don't think the Lakers without LeBron can score 100 against the Utah Jazz. I don't. Even though Utah just lost to Washington, I still think Utah is a very strong team out of the West. I also think that as much as we haven't heard much of the Clippers, I think the LA Clippers have a very good chance. The other thing we haven't even talked about are the Phoenix Suns. Here's a team that's won 9 of their last 10, creeping up on the leaderboard, but they're being led by 2 point guards in CP3 and Jay. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, maybe it's a change of the guard, but there's so much parity and so much injury happening right now in the league. It's going to come down to who's healthy come playoff time, who's riding a winning streak, and who wants it the most.
Yeah, you got that right. That's for sure. Now, you talk about how many coaches like on the court are there? Like, how many players can you say in the NBA that are legit coaches on the court?
Depends which team you're talking about. I mean,
is there one on every team?
No, there isn't. I don't think New Orleans has a coach on their playing squad. Pelicans are too young, and I think they're a team on the rise, but they don't have that leader coach on the bench.
Zion? I think
he's not
Zion.
there. He's second or third year. I mean,
but there are certain guys that command that attention, though. There's certain guys.
If you told Zion that he had to be the coach, no, he couldn't do it. His play would suffer.
Okay.
He's enjoying life, the fact that he gets the ball, run up and down the court with his 285 frame, and throw down on people.
All right. Russell Westbrook, yes or no?
He's an interesting player. I think, game in and game out, he is an individual player. He has never been on a successful team. Outside of being part of the original 4 out of Oklahoma City, which was an amazing group, those 4, they still did not have team chemistry, team ability to win a championship. And I think that will be his demise. He will be a great individual player. He will put up stats. He will not win an NBA championship.
KD.
Well, I mean, KD's talents are there. I mean, outside of his political views and what he says on Twitters and social media feeds and, being, criticized for being a part of a super team in Golden State, there's nothing wrong with how he plays. He is an amazing talent, but once again, too short of a career perhaps.
Okay.
Or not given the opportunity to really fully spread his wings on his own. I think he's orchestrated a very good group with him in Brooklyn. Like, again, we just haven't seen them all play on the court together.
Yeah, I think you're right there. The fact is he hasn't played enough for me this year to be considered a coach on the court, that's for sure. So I want to go into some scoreboards here. First and I can't believe I forgot this, the NHL. You had the Sabres playing Boston today. Boston wins that game 3-2. The Sabres actually giving teams a fight, which is nice. The Calgary Flames beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-2. You have the Florida Panthers and Dallas Stars. That game is in the third period, tied at 2. You have the Vegas Golden Knights. The Philadelphia Flyers and Washington Capitals. Man, what happened to the Flyers? That's a big problem there. 6-1 final there in Washington for the Capitals. You have the Rangers at 3-0 beating New Jersey. Tampa Bay and Nashville. The Nashville Predators beat Tampa 7-2. And man, just some of these scores, some of these teams that you think are going to be good that aren't playing well tonight. I know you haven't watched a lot of games, so
Joe, run through, man. Stop.
Sorry. So Theo, what's been your main focus on sports lately?
for me, watching wise, I really enjoyed watching the Masters on Sunday. It was really great to see Hideki do what he did, with having that lead, but maintaining that lead. It was great to watch some good golf in the azaleas and the pumping of the chirping of all the birds in the air. It was great to see. I'm looking forward to seeing how these good teams are going to pull out of these little skits they're having, Winnipeg included.
Yeah.
I mean, you're seeing these teams that are on top having 2 or 3 game losing streaks, but maybe that's just, the way they're getting themselves set up to rebound and get into a better winning situation. Really impressed with Vlad Tarasenko's goal last week. His wrister from another mister. It just shows that the guy has talent still. Like, he's able to do what he wants to do. We didn't talk anything about St. Louis tonight, but I mean, there are teams that are going to waken up pretty soon, and we're still going to start seeing in the next week or so teams that really have that drive, that build, that that piaz, I call it, that want to make it to the cup run. And I think there's going to be about 8 teams that are going to be involved consistently. I'm really looking forward to seeing the draft in a couple of weeks. I want to see, what these players are going to do. I want to see if teams are really going to move up. Is Dallas going to give up a number 10 pick or a number 8 pick for New England to get a quarterback, or for Washington to get Justin Fields, or having Fields and Chase on the same team, 2 Ohio State guys, pretty interesting. One on the offense, one on the defense. All these different storylines, I want to see them come out. I'm done with hearing about speculation.
You're done hearing from Kuiper, and frankly, I just
want to see it happen. I want to see this go down.
Yeah, so it's been a good show tonight. Thank you guys for watching at home. For Theo, I'm Joe. Be sure to be kind to one another, do the right things, and maybe we'll see you out somewhere. So for Theo, I'm Joe. See you guys later.